white. Is there a, oh yeah, look at that. All right, hey, I'm Wes Bryan with Modern Shore Insurance, and I really liked what Heather did the other day and got on the stage.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I'm a performer, and I like to be up here. So, I want to walk you guys through actual insurance policies and what you are looking at. But first, I want to ask a question. One, Rob, hopefully you didn't bring 64 needles, because I'm sure after this performance, these individuals want to
I have
stick with
hundreds
you.
of needles.
So, hide those things. I want to ask, who actually loves insurance? Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's what I figured. So, it may be a little hard to see. You're going to have to scroll down as you go. So this is an actual insurance policy that I had written for an insured, and I kind of wanted to go through the particulars of what the policy details. I've talked about the struggles with insurance. I've talked about the rates, everything. I can continue to talk about the rates. But I kind of felt like I wanted to point out the important stuff to make sure that you have correct on your policy, or else it can either be declined or it can go to the wrong individual at the time of the claim, or if you have a total loss or anything like that. So you want, first thing you want to make sure is that the name is correct and the address is correct. If you have a spouse, you always want to list your spouse in your homeowner's policy, whether you like her or not. It's very important in the sense of, or, well, let me go through that. If you decease and she's still alive and there's a loss and she's not listed on the policy, then she may not be able to recoup that money or get the claim paid out. So it's very important that you list them. Also, on another note for that would be she is entitled, or he is entitled to any liability loss. So if she causes any problems, you guys get sued, you want to make sure that they're on the policy and listed. Obviously, you want to make sure your phone number and email are correct. That's the easiest way for the companies to get to you and notify you of any loss or any notices they have out or any changes. If you could scroll down. So here are, nope. There you go. All right, so this is your coverage information. This is what you are actually covering. You can see here that it's a $2,500 deductible. I encourage a $2,500 deductible on homeowners insurance because you don't want to make claims that are less than $2,500 if you can afford that. It's going to hurt you in the long run. A lot of people want to see like a $500, $1,000 deductible. There's really no point to that, and there's money savings at the 25, and I feel like that's a reasonable number when it comes to a claim. And when I mentioned not making cheaper claims, it would be a sense of, you know, a tree falls on a pergola in your backyard, and the pergola is going to cost, you know, maybe $3,000 to fix. Well, if you claim that on insurance, which they will cover, if you had a $1,000 deductible, you'd be paying $2,000 up, or they would be paying you $2,000, you would be $1,000 out of pocket. So, but the problem is down the road, that claim can affect you if you ever have to go to another carrier or find other coverage. So that's why we typically like to do the $2,500. The hurricane deductible is always based off the value of the dwelling. So on this one, we have $500,000 in coverage for this dwelling. At 2%, you get it's a $10,000 deductible. Now, that $10,000 deductible is a policy period deductible on the hurricane. So if you have a loss early on in hurricane season, whether it's big or small, make the claim. I know I'm sounding like I'm contradicting myself on the AOP. Hurricane's totally different. You got to remember there's two separate policies within it. You have the all other perils policy, all your hazard, and then you have the hurricane side of that. And you'll see, I'll show you later, but anyway, so if you have a $10,000 deductible, you have a $5,000 loss starting at the first storm. Basically, the insurance company makes that claim. It's a weather claim, so it's not a hazard claim. $5,000 comes off of that $10,000, so they're not going to pay it, but they remove $5,000 from the $10,000. Now, if you have another storm and you have damage, well, they're going to make you fix the damage that you had. They're not just going to let you go without it. But if there's another storm and you have damage, and say it's 20 grand, and you make that claim, your deductible is only $5, they're gonna pay out $15,000. So always make a hurricane claim if you have a loss, big or small. Call the company, have them come out, adjust it. That's very important. The other thing is, on these policies, this is a citizen's policy, so you're gonna see the liability is only $100,000. Most standard carriers will offer $300,000 or more. You can't elect $100,000. I encourage you to take as much liability as you possibly can. And the fact that Citizens makes it $100,000, there are options out there to add additional coverage to fill that gap. If you have an umbrella, they require you to carry a $300,000 liability minimum. So if you have a Citizens policy and you have an umbrella but you don't have a gap policy, you are on the hook for $200,000 if there's any additional issue with someone suing you or anything like that. So always remember that. It's called a $200,000 retention on the umbrella. Umbrellas are super important, especially if you have a little bit of net worth. If you have tangible properties that may not be in a trust or anything like that. Always get a personal umbrella. They are not that expensive, but they are definitely there and willing to pay out when there is a loss. So I encourage you to look at that. The biggest thing that people do is they will take personal property. So you can see this is at 50% of coverage A. That is standard 50%. You could drop it down to 25%, which saves you a good amount of money. But what people had started doing once rates were going up, they would remove replacement costs. So as you can see, personal property replacement cost is included. As you can see, the value there is $585 of the premium. So that's a big number, right? So if you remove that, you can save $585,000. The problem is, if I have a total loss, talking about a fire, I have a total loss, the insurance company is going to see that and typically it'd be 25%, but let's just use this number, $250,000. And they look at the policy and they say, well, you elected not to have replacement cost on contents. Okay, I don't remember that as the insured, as they always do. But what does that mean? Well, sir, we are only going to pay you what and you have to prove exactly what you had. So I need pictures, receipts, I need documents to show that you have these things, up to the $250,000. But what we're going to do is we're going to depreciate that. So if you have a $5,000 TV that you bought 3 years ago, they're going to give you $1,000. So you just lost a good amount of money right there at the time of claim, just to save $585 a year. So it's a big thing to think about. Obviously, rates come from the coverage and what the carriers determine that rate to be. One last note, I know I'm kind of running out of time. Just a heads up, Citizens is going to the state and trying to get their rates up. And that is because we have the lowest rates. Well, Citizens has the lowest rates by 40% of any other standard carrier out there. It's a big issue with the state of Florida. We need to support the other carriers so Citizens can stop and go back to what they were, and that's a means of last resort. So if you do have the option to pay a little extra and go to a standard carrier, I encourage you to do that. You will be happier with the service and the claims, and you don't have to deal with Citizens BS. But thank you, Wes Bryan, Monitor.